What's the hardest thing about writing? Well, it's getting started. Maybe you're having a hard time coming up with a story idea, or you're stuck on where to take your story next. If you want a way into a story or a way through, I have 9 story starters to help you. This free PDF is full of story seeds and prompts to get you going. To download your 9 story starters, go to nancypanuccio.com/start. That's Nancy with an I, Panuccio with 2 C's, nancypanuccio.com/start. I used to dread revision. The more I try to fix my story, the more lost and frustrated I become. After dozens of rewrites and just convinced that my story was just a mess that was irreparable, I'd shove my story into the drawer and move on to the next draft, which would lead to more revision, more confusion and frustration, utter despair. Fast forward to today. Rewriting is not only manageable for me, it's hands down my favorite part of the writing process. To quote Bernard Malamud, revision is for me one of the exquisite pleasures of writing. So what changed? My misconceptions about the writing process and some gradual, steady realizations. I'm Nancy Panuccio, and on today's episode of Writer Unleashed, I'll share the 5 things about revision I wish I'd known sooner. Stay tuned. Writer Unleashed is for you, a writer who has a story you want to bring onto the page and into the hearts and minds of readers. I'm Nancy Panuccio, writer, editor, and writing coach. And each week, we'll explore techniques, mindsets, and inspiration for writing stories readers can't put down. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let's begin. I used to get deeply discouraged whenever I found that my first, second, third, fourth, fifth draft needed more work. I thought rewriting meant that my work was a failure, that I was a failure, that I lacked talent. And, we all do this, that we always have some form of I suck, right? So I'd look at a story from a workshop or read a magnificent novel or story and think, wow, I wish I could write like that. Writing must come so easy to her. Now, here's what I've learned. Number 1, writing is rewriting. There's no distinction. Every piece of literature we love and revere has been written under incredible doubt, frustration, confusion, and many, many, many rewrites. Hemingway rewrote the last page of Farewell to Arms 39 times before he felt satisfied. Dorothy Parker said it typically took her 6 months to write a short story. And John Irving says that more than half, maybe even 2/3 of his life as a writer is spent rewriting. Now, once I banished this misconception that there was a distinction between writing and rewriting, I was able to stop chasing the result and just flow with the process. I learned to embrace chaos, to trust that some kind of shape, order, and relevance would in due time emerge from this inchoate mess of imagery, episodes, memories, and abstractions. And I stopped berating myself for not having produced a brilliant draft right out of the gate. Number 2, our first draft is just the raw material. It flows, it's cathartic, exhilarating, it feels brilliant, and it is, but the brilliance is not in focus yet. Rarely do we get to write a first draft and say, we're done. I mean, sometimes it happens, but it's extremely rare. And that's because our first draft is for telling us what our story wants to say. It has all the clues and everything that we dialed up. and everything that came to us from our subconscious. Revision is where we dive back into our material and we see what the work needs. It's where we expand, enhance, refine. It's where we crystallize what's inherently there. And it's where we stretch our abilities beyond where we are right now. Number 3, revision is an investigation. Now, for years, my biggest misconception about revision was that it was about fixing my story, doing it over. My job was to alter, amend, and correct all that my teachers and my peers had prescribed as problematic. But the harder I tried to improve my story, the more disconnected I felt from it, and the farther away I strayed from the original impetus that had driven me to write it in the first place. And once I understood that revision wasn't so much about changing my story or fixing it, that it was more about giving it air and letting it breathe, I gained much more control over my material. And I started to enjoy it more than that rush of the first draft. Now, revision isn't just about retooling sentences and paragraphs and changing words and fine-tuning grammar and cutting and adding scenes. That's an essential part of it for sure, but that's more like copy editing. Revision is more about probing what's already on the page, however submerged it might be at the moment. It's about digging deep and learning not just about what we're writing about, but why it matters to us. Because if we don't know the what and the why, all the changes we make to structure, word choice, description, and so on don't bring us any closer to the story we were meant to tell. They might even lead us farther astray. Number 4, revision is a receptive, intuitive act. It should feel just as exhilarating and intuitive as writing that first draft did. So listen to what's on the page. Listen to it. Embedded inside your first drafts are clues to what your story is trying to become. Consciously or unconsciously, all those disparate images, symbols, objects, and memories that you dialed up made it onto the page for a reason. So when reading your work, tune into the recurring elements and images and so forth that strike thematic chords. Which of these have an emotional or psychological charge? Unwrap them. Even the most seemingly random detail can unlock the emotional essence of a scene. When you examine your draft closely enough and from enough angles, a single image can bear the meaning of your entire story. Now, reading is a physical response, so pay attention to where you're feeling moved emotionally. Pay attention to where you're losing interest. Your body knows, so make sure you're tuning into your body as you're reading your material. Number 5. Rewriting is essential. That's because we evade our material more than we realize. We're often motivated to write because of certain memories and emotions and events that are far too powerful and complex to be fully grasped or articulated in our early drafts. Now, each time we revisit our material, we gather more courage and momentum to dive a little deeper. And if we stick with it, we come out on the other side with something coherent, unified, artful, and above all, moving. So number 1, writing is rewriting. Number 2, our first draft is raw material. Number 3, revision is an investigation. Number 4, revision is intuitive. And number 5, revision is essential. So here's what I want you to do next. Go through a page or a scene in something that you've already written. Read it and pay attention to where it pulls you in. Where do you feel an emotional charge? Where do you feel it in your body? Highlight or underline the sentences, the phrases, the images that pull you in. Now, where do you feel bored? Or where does your attention start to wander? Where do you feel meh? Bracket those words, phrases, sentences, anything that you have a neutral or ho-hum response to. Now, rewrite this section you just went over. What can you omit? What can you make stronger? Remember, number 1, writing is rewriting. Number 2, your first draft is the raw material. Number 3, revision is an investigation of what's already on the page. Number 4, revision is intuitive. Dive into it like it's a first draft. And number 5, revision is essential. Thanks so very much for tuning in today. If this show resonated for you, please leave a review. And if you haven't subscribed yet, come on board. I come to you each week with writing tips and inspiration so that you can write stories that matter to you and that matter to your readers. I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Until then, keep writing, and I'll talk to you soon.